Hi, this is Sarah Flack, the Education Coordinator for the Child Advocacy Center of the Finger Lakes. I'm happy that you're joining us today as I talk about the iGen, or the iGeneration. This is a coin that was phrased recently by Dr. Jean Twenge, who we will see a clip from in a little bit of time. I just want to start by sharing some information. So teens in a digital world, what we're seeing is that there has been a drastic increase over the last 5 to 10 years with how often teens say that they're being online, as well as their access to the internet via a computer or a cell phone. So currently, 95% of American teens have access to a smartphone. That means they either own it or they have one within their home or family network that they are able to utilize regularly. 88% of teens say that they have access to a computer at home. This number has gone up, especially in this past year, primarily due to the fact that with the COVID-19 pandemic, we are seeing an increase in remote learning. So many of our youth and young people have now computers at home where maybe their families didn't, but they are able to bring home Chromebooks and laptops from their school districts. 9 out of 10 teens are going online at least one time each day. And 45% of teens say that they are online almost constantly. So they're constantly on social media, the internet, you name it. And this graph really just illustrates that research in those numbers. So I want to play this short clip for you by Dr. Jean Twenge, where she's really talking about her book iGen, as well as why she created this term and what some of the research has been showing her during this new generation of youth.
A new book details the dramatic effects that digital devices can have on today's tech-savvy kids. It's called iGen, Why Today's Super Connected Kids Are Growing Up Less Rebellious, More Tolerant, Less Happy, and Completely Unprepared for Adulthood, and what that means for the rest of us.
Oh boy, lots of work. Author and psychologist Jean Twenge coined the term iGen for kids who were born between 1995 and 2012. This is the first generation to spend their entire childhoods with smartphones and social media. Twenge reveals they are getting less sleep, postponing sex, and even delaying getting a driver's license. The book is published by Atria, that's an imprint of Simon & Schuster, which, by the way, is a division of CBS, and Jean joins us at the table. Hello, Jean.
Hello.
We all sort of are clutching our pearls about their delaying their driver's license, because didn't we guys, when you turned 16?
So one.
It
was freedom.
Yeah, it was the first thing you wanted to do was go to the DMV, but you said they delayed the driver's license, they don't get a summer job, they're delaying sex, they're hanging out with their parents. What is happening with this group?
Yeah, so it's so common for people to say, oh, kids are growing up so quickly these days.
You say growing slowly.
But they're growing up more slowly. So with teens, so 18-year-olds now look like 15-year-olds used to in terms of the things you mentioned, like getting a job, driving.
Do they act like 15-year-olds, 18-year-olds?
Well, in some ways they do. They just haven't had as much independent experience. But yeah, the driving one really struck me too. There was one young man who told me, well, I didn't get my driver's license because my parents didn't push me to get my license, which to a Gen Xer like me, wait, what are you talking about? It's the other way around, that it's the kid pushing the parent.
So is it smartphones the cause or something else?
So with this trend of growing up slowly, there's a bunch of causes going on. It's a really broad cultural trend with drinking alcohol less and not getting a job and not dating as much, not having sex during high school. Its overall development has just slowed down, that teens are just taking longer.
Right.
So the why question is always a little hard to answer with this, but it's probably, at least partially, because people have smaller families, they expect the kids to go to college, they nurture them more carefully. And then these trends started to accelerate with the smartphone, because a lot of them have to do with getting out of the house. And when you're talking to your friends all the time, when the party's on Snapchat, you don't have to drive as much or go out without your parents as much.
I thought this was fascinating. You write of the iGen's mental health, quote, there's not a single exception. All screen activities are linked to less happiness, and all non-screen activities are linked to more happiness. That's the research?
Yeah. So if you look at these big national surveys of teens that ask them what they do with their time, so things like homework, sports, reading, getting together with their friends, all of those non-screen things, they're all correlated with greater happiness. Anything that's done with a screen, texting, social media, TV, online computer games, all of those are correlated with lower happiness.
You talk to so many iGens all around the country, and one of the reasons you say it's important to do that is to talk to this group at the same age, so you get it from them rather than older people comparing what they're going through.
Right.
What was your overall takeaway when you talked to the different groups and compared them to the millennials?
Yeah, so I drew from survey data on 11 million young people that's been collected since the 60s and 70s, then about 200 in-depth surveys, and about 25 who are interviewed in depth. And really, I think the smartphone's one of the keys in explaining why they are so different from millennials. So, for example, that their mental health has really trended downward starting around 2012.
Should they have smartphones?
Well, that's the question, right? So if you look at that link between smartphones and unhappiness or suicide risk factors or depression, what they suggest is doesn't really harm to spend, say, up to an hour or even an hour and a half a day with a screen, but 2 hours and beyond, that's when you start to see the link to these mental health issues.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
How did
One quick question, guys. How did you, you're a mom, how did you change your own behavior with your kids?
Yeah, so the day I analyzed that data, looking at screen time and unhappiness and depression, I took my kids' tablets and put them in a drawer.
So there's a lot of flip phones at your house. I don't like you, Jean.
They didn't seem to mind. I'm shocked. Yeah.
Really, this is really important. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jean Twenge. The name of the book, rather, iGen. It goes on sale next Tuesday. That's August 22nd, wherever you like to buy your books.
A new book details the dramatic effects that digital devices have.
So as you can see, Dr. Twenge has conducted massive amounts of research, which have created a large data set on this generation of kids that are growing up with smartphones, tablets, and internet access. They really don't know anything outside of those realms. So it's impacting a lot in terms of their development. Speaking of adolescent development, social changes typically occur during adolescence, which include that seeking of identity, independence, responsibility, values, influence, sexual identity, and media. So, what Dr. Twenge's research is saying for the iGen is that all of these are actually slowed down or have been somewhat postponed. And that's because with the ability to connect virtually to almost anyone at any time, there aren't these seeking opportunities for independence. So kids are perfectly comfortable being at home and not being with their peers. So when it comes to developing values and influences, they're also continuing to develop values and influences with their core family. In the past, during the adolescent period, we would start to see where teens would really be looking to their peers more. And that isn't quite the case anymore. Same thing with sexual identity. Uh, she talks about how kids are not having intercourse during high school. Dating has gone down. Even just spending time with friends has all decreased. Other typical adolescent development stages, so emotional changes, including moods and feelings, sensitivity to others, self consciousness, and decision making, have all been impacted as well because, like I said, if the kids aren't leaving the house, they aren't faced with as many types of decisions that they have to make. So when we have our young people going away to college, they may be overloaded and still be feeling pretty dependent on mom and dad at home and seeking some other ways, to develop these emotional changes. So as opposed to developing them in middle school, we're starting to see them later in high school. Limited capacity for self regulation and susceptibility to peer pressure. So, when it comes to online pressure, whether that's sexting or cyberbullying, we do find that those incidents have drastically increased because of that self-regulation. They still do want to connect with their peers. They're just not doing it in person. So their activities online have changed. And then obviously the concerns for mental health, which I'll display some charts to kind of talk about that a little. So of course, social media and online safety are very important. We do find that about 45% of teens say that they significantly see benefits to being online and being on social media. About 40% say they don't really see any difference. And then 25% or so say that they do have negative experiences on social media platforms and online. But some of the benefits that are being reported by our teens and adolescents include things like opportunities for learning and technical skills. So they can actually watch videos on things that are creating more educational opportunities. They can work on projects together. They can connect with teachers and um, their classmates in a way that perhaps earlier generations couldn't. They do feel that it's enhancing their communication in some ways. So, face to face interaction and communication is not quite the same. And sometimes their written skills are not quite up to standards that we may have had because of spell check and things of that nature. But in terms of enhancing communication, they are able to connect more regularly and more often with a larger variety of people, which also improves their social connection. And another big benefit for the use of social media is for entertainment. So I did mention some of those causes for concerns or those negatives to social media, and these are all again reported by teens. So teens feel that some of the top concerns are their experience with cyberbullying, whether they were uh, somebody who was bullying, who was being bullied, or just an innocent bystander who maybe is reading hurtful comments about friends or peers. With that goes hand in hand with the online harassment. And then we also have falsifying information. So, not being able to necessarily trust people who are online, as well as our young people falsifying their own information. So, creating profiles that say that they're older or younger than they are is a big concern. There's also a lot of concerns with privacy as well as digital footprint. So before, it was a lot harder to track people down and find out where they were and what they were doing. Well, now that everybody lives their life almost online 24/7, there are quite a few concerns for privacy, and digital footprint can come back really to haunt people. So, you always want to think about not only what does this image say about me now, but what will this image or content say about me in the future to prospective employers as well as recruitment officers for college or for the military. This was just talking about the health and behavior of teenagers and how that's changed in the last 10 years during this iGen. So we have seen a pretty drastic increase in the number of young people who are saying that they do not get the recommended 8 hours of sleep. We've also seen an increase in people who are reporting that they have practiced any self-harm behaviors, have depressive symptoms, um, and the rates of obesity have also almost doubled. However, we do see some very positive trends in that the number of young people who have tried alcohol or cigarettes has decreased, as well as the number of individuals that assaulted someone or committed any vandalism. So these are all again related to kind of what Dr. Twenge was saying was, we're on the screen and the screen is impacted to negative mental health. However, it's positively impacted because with our kids staying home, they're not experiencing any of these other risky behaviors. And I do have a variety of charts here that I'm sharing as well. So our top left one, we can see that the sexting among middle and high school students has been on the rise, and this has been the trend for many years with the development of smartphones specifically, as well as social media platforms on the internet, and really across all borders. So the number of people reporting that they've sent or received a sext or asked or were asked for a sext, and as well as the number of people who have shared a sext image without the other person's permission or knowledge. I also wanted to share the two graphs on the top right, bottom left, really just showing the U.S. Teen and young adult suicide rates as well as depression rates. And what you can see on the top right is that our 50 plus age bracket, as well as our 30 age bracket, 30 to 49 age bracket, has maintained a pretty steady level amount of the percentage of people in that age group who are depression. And what we can also see is that our younger people, so our 16 to 19, our 20 to 21, and our 22 to 25 age ranges have all reported a pretty drastic increase, as well as our 12 to 15-year-olds. Specifically since about 2011-ish, we really started to see an incline, without really any point where there was a good decline at all. So we can expect that these numbers may continue to rise. On the bottom left, we also see our graph, and we see, that in about 1993, 94, we had a pretty high peak of the number of young people um, with suicide rates for young people. And then we really started to have a big push for mental health and got those numbers almost cut in half in the early 2000s. In 2007 was when the iPhone was initially released, and since then we've then again been on a drastic incline. This isn't to say that the iPhone is the cause of suicide rates among young people, but it's just a correlation that's being made during this generation of people. And now up in 2017, this graph was published. It's seen that or then surpass what was previously our peak back in 1994. And lastly, the chart on the bottom right is just talking about the types of things that teens share on their social media accounts and online. So things like their real name, their birthday, where they live, where they go to school. 91% of teens have a photo of themselves as their profile image, and 24% say that they've posted videos of themselves. We also see that over half of all teens who have social media accounts are sharing their email address, and about 1 in 5 teens have their cell phone number posted. This iGen topic is huge, and there's a lot of information as well as a lot of that's constantly coming out. So if you're interested in learning, I would really look to the new research technology as well as adolescent development. If you're interested in reading Dr. Twenge's book, iGen, that is available on at most bookstores as well as in a digital format. So I just wanted to share a picture of Dr. Twenge again with her book in case anyone is interested in checking that out. And if you have any more questions or comments or would like more information, you can certainly reach out to me, Sarah Flack, at Sarah, S-A-R-A, at CAC Finger Lakes, or by contacting our main office at 585 394 2573.